everybody. I'm going. I will see you soon. Don't know what we're talking about, so I guess we'll find out. Hey, leave you to it. All right.
I am not sure.
Hmm. Today we have two slightly different occurrences to normal. The first, we are joined by a dog. This appears to be a German Shepherd dog that is not purebred. Likes to sit on a chair and very pointy ears as he looks at somebody connected. But he brings through or with him another person. But it is not that link that I choose to stay with, it's just mentioned. The second is a communicator you may not have heard before. This communicator is not regular. Not regular at speaking at any rate, but rather more regular in attendance than verbal. So I will pass you initially on to this communicator and I will return. in the early part of 1900. A council of spiritual people came together with the aim of reviewing the progress of the earth. And it was declared at that time that there would be a 12 which would join the earth and come to avert man of all the disasters which stood with them. So the 12 descended into the world of the astral and began to connect with mankind. But the Great War occurred, and those 12 began their work by staying within the astral world and taking care of those which transitioned, as many crossed. They were awake on your side and then reawoken on our side. The shock, the change, the not knowing was work for many of us. But after this initial Great War, each of the 12 selected their people to work with and to communicate through and to be part of the evolution of the planet to, as best as possible, avoid any other disaster. The 12 vow to stay within the cycle of the planet until the planet was healed and mankind could fully understand its connection to the Creator, the spiritual laws which govern mankind, and with the intention of the human world understanding its spiritual basis. This, of course, is no small task. It's a task of centuries, not a task of mere 1 or 2 years. It is still occurring, and all of that 12 are still fully connected to the humankind. Each of those 12 needed to find and allocate themselves to an appropriate person or persons that would then fly the flag and promote the spiritual world to the mankind. Many, if not all, have more than one communicator they work with in terms of voice. They have and will take physical presence at times when it is required to realign and to bring mankind back to its destiny and avert anything more disastrous. If you look within your human communicators, you will see that At times now the great American Indian chiefs walk the world again, not in their physical form, but in their voice. Their presence is known, and the reconnection to the world is reiterated by them to come back to the nature of the planet and the workings of the natural world. You will see others and hear of others which have also been in contact with this earth and undertake much work. Not all have taken human form, but have been retained in a spirit form which can be seen as non-humanoid. Those which were on this path were involved in working with disasters which would have occurred off planet. So you have ones which work earth-based, some astrologically based, some based within the humankind and the human psyche. Through this personality I work through now, I am not one of those 12. But you should listen to the words of other communicator. The task was placed through this medium's mind, not just to educate you in the realm of your physical development, but the reconnection to your spiritual self and understanding that. The understanding that the spiritual form is the correct word to use, as the knowledge far beyond that you would understand within your limited mind. And there is a push to make decisions from a different level so that you understand that aspect of life and work from your true self rather than the egoic nature which runs within you so rampantly. Mankind now is full of bloodlust. It is craving power, control, creating dominance and responding to threats, attacks which only occur within the physical world. There has been much threats of another war that has been mentioned before, but it looks like the physical war may be avoided. But do not think that your wars have been avoided permanently. If you look within your history, you will see that over time man has withdrawn more and more from the point of death and contact with another. The wars initially were between man and man at the point of weapons, and then those weapons advanced and man withdrew further from that contact with the bow and arrow. And then with gunpowder, with other devices, rockets and missiles, mankind still withdraws further from that contact. So although you may feel you are not within a physical wall, there will be greater propensity to be a non-physical war that will occur next. But that is some time. You will find, if you wish to look, that the 12 I have mentioned are firmly within your system, can be seen for some, but will be heard more frequently. That 12 has been mentioned before. It has been mentioned by others as they work around the world. You will hear these 12 in their forms communicating within the major centers of the world. And they come often, but they come with reminders of their true self and with the manipulation or attempted manipulation to keep mankind away from physical into spiritual. There is a communicator through this medium which is connected to other mediums as well. You will hear that presence both within Europe and also the North American states. There will be others which will also have the benefit of that voice in other areas that you will not know of. There are, working in their forms and their formats, the same energy works through in different words, in different styles, according to the climate of the country that presence is needed to be felt in. In these places, they may be termed a god or a demigod or even a wise elder, a shaman, or even one where they communicate with the benefit of spirit to the population at hand. The 12 have resolved to be with the earth until the healing, the understanding occurs. Ain't always easy to follow somebody who talks so deeply with a gravelly type voice, isn't it? You get me now, and you get me to kind of lift things back up again. Kind of you plunges you down into your depth, and now me kind of raise you back up so you can feel all cheery the rest of your day, live life fully. You see, I ain't at the level which can affirm or reject anything that's been said by him, but I can tell you I do know it to be true, but I don't know any more than that, really. But I do know other things which I may not be able to allude to. But anyway, you see, your world, you see your lives, that when you get a baby, of course, you probably heard this before, but when you get a baby, you rejoice, and when you get a death, you cry. And of course, it's exactly the opposite for us, isn't it? We lose somebody to some degree by they go into the sleep state. We see it from our side. They go into a sleep state between your waking hours. This is viewing it from our side. And when you go to sleep, we get them back for a short while. It's kind of like they've clocked off. They've done their hours of work, and the spiritual self reawakens within our side. So you see, your sleep is your body relaxing, but the spirit is then free and active. And when you're awake, the spirit is there animating and moving the body and working and trying to have influence within your body. But then it has to concentrate your side. It doesn't become aware necessarily on our side to the same degree. It's like when you got your head stuck in a book, you know what I mean? You're reading along and you're so captivated you miss everything else going on around you at time. Well, that's what happens for us. We link in with you and we put our head in a book, and we kind of all hear, if you know what I mean. We don't drift away until you set us free. And you set us free by going to sleep. That sleep, of course, can be sleep by the way you refer it, but also go to sleep when you meditate and you tune into us. You give us the permission to work through you then. So there's parts of the process where you let yourself work with us and you release us, or you keep us captive, if you know what I mean, your spirit captive within your body. You see, spirit don't need rest. We don't have 8 hours of shut eye like you do. We don't need to evolve like you do. We just like to be part of the life and the world. We're here to witness. We're here to grow. We're here to add spirit into the world that you see. You've got to let us, though. It's your physical side that has to let us manifest in your world, as we've said, no end of time. So we need to be involved in it, and kind of connecting through what the other one spoke about, and that is, how much different would the world be if you did let us in and let us be with you in terms of be fully into your life? Is that not really what he said as well, in terms of his saying that there's a bunch of them there in the spiritual side influencing all the world? Well, you can do it yourself, can't you? Mankind thinks that you've got to be somewhere up on a pedestal or on top of a mountain top meditating with your eyes closed, but you ain't really. That ain't the point. The point is you just got to live your spiritual life today and live it in the right way. But you ain't got to go and find it. You ain't got to go and dig up the spiritual bit. You know, you just got to let it come through you. There's another group that's been working on this, and they're going to work more directly on it soon about how to be fully spiritual. You know, you think you know it. You think it. Some of you think it's religion. Others think it's kind of, well, it's a bit woo-woo. It's out there. It's a bit strange stuff. But if I was to ask you, and you were to honestly answer me, would you want to live a life of spirit, spiritual nature, have all the spiritual qualities that are there? Do you not crave home? Well, that's a good question, isn't it? Do you not crave your home? And what I mean is, you don't crave your home as in where you were born. The home I'm talking about is the home before you were born. Do you not have a craving for that inside you? Do you not look at that and go, oh, that would be lovely? Or what about if we brought that home to you? What about if that home, you could live in that home and live in this world all at the same time? And you could have all the love, all the knowledge, everything you want. So the next series of talks is going to be very much more about living more spiritually, you know, how you find it. Now, this ain't meant to be nice, fluffy little words. Today's because it's the introduction of the next set. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to be talking about what it means, how you can do it, how you can do it easily, how you can live your life as if you're already dead. That's something to look forward to. I'm going to live as if I'm dead. You see, can I tell you something? I've got to get right to the point. I'll get right here, right to the point, if I can get my words out. And that is, half of you, if not more, really have a fear of death. And the other half of you has a fear of life. Too scared to live it. Those who have a fear of life think, well, I'm only here once. I better not make a mistake. Those who have a fear of death maybe are willing to make the mistakes. What about if you lived fully and wholly and completely? Well, anyway, we'll talk about that in time. Getting rid of them fears which are inherent in all of you to some degree. Coming back to your true self, getting rid of all those worries. You know, some have worries of not being good enough. They're worried about making mistakes, and they're worried about, oh, I can't do this because I would be threatened. I would be attacked, either physically, verbally, or even spiritually in their belief. What if you couldn't make the mistake? What if you had no such thing as sin? Of errors, of all that stuff. And you know, there's people that say, you can do all this, but it's going to take you 100 years to get anywhere. Well, what about if it's working in just a matter of a couple of weeks, a month? Would you give me 1 month of time and practice where you did the work truthfully, honestly, rather than just telling me you're doing it, because I may know a thing or two? Would you do it? Just for 1 month. Practice the things that I would talk to you about. And if it don't work for you at the end of the month, well, I'll give you a full refund plus 10% extra for your time. I'm only joking. Ain't no cost. And if you lived it for a month, then you would see yourself that what I'm talking about makes sense. And I want to ignore, in part, in the work that we'll do, ignore the spirit bit, just a bit of the human side we'll work with. Of course, we've got to mention that word. But what about your human side? What about if we got you to the point where you felt like you were fully connected to us? That the stopping, the drama, the trouble, the errors, the mistakes, the bits of torture that you carry. What about if we could at least dust them a little bit and try and get rid of a few of them? Of course, for a month, you might need a bit longer for some issues, but that's up to you if you want to carry on it. All we're going to do is allow you to have access to this. And we're going to try and remove the veil. So you have bigger and better and even more effective connection to us by not trying to connect to us, but by dusting your veil off. Removing your bits of blockages so you can come. So if you want to do it, then sign yourself up for 1 month, 4 weeks, and try. Now in them 4 weeks, if you do the bit, I'm going to ask you to do things quite regularly. They're going to be a little bit of meditation and a little bit of other exercises. And I'm sure your mind's going to drive you mad and say to you, this is all rubbish. But if you do this work for a month, I guarantee you, you're going to be a different person at the end of it. And if you want to give it up at the end of the 4 weeks, the month, well, you can. You can go back to your old self if you want to. Now, the exercises and the things we're going to talk about, they ain't going to be deep. They're going to be shallow. As I said, they are going to be working to dust off that veil of blockage, if you want. The blockages you put in your way. With the intention of coming fully back to who you are. You see, this education through me kind of honours the work that was started that the other one alluded to bring mankind back to his spiritual nature. You see, this pathway is your destiny. A pathway of waking up to yourself is one that you're going to have to do at some stage. For some, it's going to take 100 lifetimes before you turn your head towards it. But because you're listening to this, and if you take the work, then you've already started it to some degree. Don't think that the next series of work, of jobs, of talks, don't think that it doesn't connect to the previous, what was it, 14? There will be similarities and there will be little light bulb moments where you understand the whole thing a little bit different, I hope. So we're going to change the education from being about, let's call it, all psychic stuff into person stuff, mind, clearing up your mind. If you want to talk about this scientifically, me being head of science in the engine room of a boat, I can answer that for you. We're going to deepen you by making you more shallow. There we go. Science according to Charlie. Crystal clear. No room for doubt with that one. So from next week, if you're just interested, come along and listen. If you want to have a go, please be dedicated for the 4 weeks. And it's only going to be a few minutes here and there through your day. It ain't going to be locked away in a cupboard or anything like that. What better education could you get from anywhere being educated from our side? Now, I'll leave you back to him. I'll see you all next week. Bring your dancing shoes. I don't know why you're going to bring your dancing shoes, but bring them. All right. Ta-ra. See ya. See you then. Take care of yourself. Always walk on the sunny side of the street. We shall begin that work that was mentioned from next week. The work of coming back, in essence, to your true self by working through and removing some of the obstacles, or veil has been mentioned, moving the veil to the spiritual qualities that await you. Over the course of that time, you will begin to feel yourself being far more present, far more in tune. And for some, their spirit contact will increase no end. For others, of course, that work will begin, which will lead to that spirit contact. Now, my medium does undertake some of that study himself. But we will be using very little of his knowledge base within that time. The education will come through the medium, will in part stay within the medium's mind, but will be delivered through to you. So the medium will also get education. But he may not know where that information or knowledge comes from. Without his knowing, he has already begun to prepare and put things together that we need. But he does not know why. He has been acting on preparation for these exercises, but acting on the impulse to do something, and has begun. There's evidence towards this. If you wish, you may ask this medium for the list which sits at his side. It is a list that he has been influenced to create. Yet his list is wrong. Each time he undertakes one aspect of that list, he does something else, which of course is us driving it. Within time and within the exercises that will come, we hope you too will gain the influence of knowing what you need to do, or knowing you need to do something but not know why you need to do it. We aim to whisper loudly within your ear, not always with words, but with nudges and with inspiration. We hope that you will begin to listen to this inspiration and to be guided by it. Part of this process will mean, with time, you will stop listening for external advice and listen to your internal advice. In other words, waking up to the spiritual nature that you have, which in part is the mission of the 12. All of this is given to you freely, without charge, without expectation. If you wish to donate any money to a charity, then do so. Only you will know. But there is no obligation. So now I take my leave and allow that German Shepherd dog to jump down from the chair and to leave also. Until we meet next week. God bless you all. Whew.